Okay, I'm going to finish where I left off, which was from chapter 2. Stopped recording. There might be a time limit on my camera. I'm not sure. But I was at the part where Bird was being interrogated in the hole. What is equivalent to the hole? Okay. The first cop held Bird's hand down on the table in a steely grip. The second cop pulled out his long nightstick, observed it almost philosophically, then suddenly smashed it down on Bird's outstretched hand. He could feel the knuckles crunch and the bones break. Pain was like a chord or grating dissonance. He could let it be sound and not feel it, and stay where the fear couldn't get at him. As long as he stayed sheltered from the fear, nothing could get at him. Or so he told himself. In some other life, he would cry for his lost guitar and the lost possibilities of music. They broke both his hands and then sent him back to his private underworld. Maybe this was their modern version of the old test for witches, the one where they threw you in the water. If you sank and died, you were innocent. If you floated, you were guilty, and they burned you. If he survived this, he had to be a witch, he thought, as he went into the star song for healing. He couldn't make the bones go back quite right, but he could knit them together and put the pain into an arrow and shoot it off to disintegrate somewhere else. They would come for him again, he knew that. He didn't want to let the fear in because he sensed now that it was big enough to eat him alive. But he knew he couldn't block it out indefinitely. He needed a plan. He wanted to be able to walk through walls, to pass invisible through the corridors and out into the night air. He wanted to go home. Well, he could walk. He had learned that much, not easily or long or well, but part of that was lack of practice. The muscles had atrophied, but he would work on them, and he would make himself walk around this cell. 3 paces one way, 3 paces back, until he had the use of his legs again. It was his mind that was the problem. Sooner or later they'd break him and pick it. They'd find the pain he couldn't resist, or they'd get tired of cruder methods and drug him. Did it really matter, he wondered, what he told them? They asked him questions about magic. What could they do if they knew how much or how little he had? And they asked him about the North, how the city was governed and defended. Were they planning a war? If he told them the truth, that the North had not armed itself or prepared war, would they invade? He paced and he worried. The fear crept in, chink by chink. He thought maybe he was going to lose his mind. Or maybe that was the answer. When they came for him again, he was ready. A good thing, too. He thought, when they laid him down on a hospital cot and came toward him with a syringe. He remembered a story about the stone they called the desert rose, pink with rigid and striated surfaces. Maya had told him some people called it witches' brains. The legend was the old witches had locked their secrets inside it when they were taken to be tortured, to keep them safe from the witch burners until the remembering time would come again. Inside his mind was a stone like an egg. He took a deep breath, let it out, and imagined that his mind and his memories were inside that rock. He set a ward, the tiniest speck of mind stuff, to watch and wait and bring him out again when it was safe or necessary. Then the fear got him. For one stark moment of absolute terror. They found his vein. The syringe emptied the drug into his arm. And he took the crystal egg of his mind and his memories of what was in him that he believed made him, and fled. The more they came after him with drugs and questions, the farther away he hid, and the stone was buried deep, deep underground, where his mind had been something opaque and resilient that memory bounced away from. Little John was in bed beside him, rubbing against him. Bird came alert instantly, the fear still clinging to him. Where was he? In the barracks? Who was he? Bird? How long he'd been here? 10 years. 10 years. And the pain, he was awash in High John's pain, not his own. Clarity, boundaries. He remembered the lessons of his childhood. Always draw the magic circle before you step between the worlds. Don't get lost. I once was lost, but now I'm found. His father had liked to sing that old hymn. Fuck me, Little John whispered. No, wait, I can't now. He could still hear High John moaning, and he could still feel the power flooding through him. Funny, he had never been a healer, or much wanted to be, but his hands, broken, had found unsuspected powers. He imagined reaching out with them to High John, imagined lifting him with his hands as if he could lift the man up on his broken body. They stood together somewhere on the slopes of a mountain. He smelled rage. Do you want to live or die? Bird asked. I want to die, but I have got to live if I can. Bird's own body was an instrument of great music. It could sing through him and charm High John's life back into his broken bones, smooth his torn flesh. And then Little John was doing something to Bird's body. He could dimly feel his cock rising with a stab of need. Cautiously, Bird lowered a barrier in his mind and felt for the younger man to draw him into the link. Little John drew away with an electric shock of panic. Don't witch me, he said. Let's just fuck. Bird felt shocking ring through the harmony like a door slamming in the middle of a symphony. He was almost thrown out of contact, but he reached for High John and held on. Ground, he said to himself, letting the power run back to earth. Let the earth hold it. Maya used to say, she won't lose it for you, and you'll always know where to find her. Ground. Come on, Little John urged. That is how witches fuck, Bird breathed in his ear. I can't do it any other way. Sure you can, like you used to. Please, let's just do it like we always used to. The boy feared him, Bird sensed. He feared Bird would reach into his mind, grab something there he didn't want to face, take it, and then hate him and discard him. Maybe he preferred Bird mindless, a force like raging nature if he could submit to, but wasn't capable of controlling him. Maybe forms of control were all he ever known. Bird started to draw back. He could still feel High John, a spirit trapped in a shell of pain, just on the edge of bearable now. He wanted to stay with him, not to be distracted. But then Little John's mouth on his cock, and the need in him was raging and building. The boy's fingers drummed on his chest, and Bird could hear him make soft little sounds of imprecation and submission. He had never before in his memory used a body without opening to the mind, and the thought repelled him, but something in it also excited him, seemed to fit the kind of cold comfort he needed in this place, as if the very bars around him could become erotic dreams. High John moaned somewhere, and Little John moaned in his ear, and then the sex and the healing and the power and the pain were all mixed up together, all building and vibrating in strange dissonances that finally peaked. He came, and then he owed it to the boy to make him come too. In the stillness he felt a silence where High John was. Was he dead? And the door opened and the guards dropped High John's body back into the corner bunk. When they were gone, Bird slid out of the bed and placed his hand lightly on the man's chest. No, sleeping, healing. I had to pause this for a minute.